The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Welcome back onto the program, looking at the macroeconomic developments. And 2020 was not the best of all years for a lot of us. If we could delete a year from our lives, that could be it. I think that's what the general sentiment has been across the world. But 2021 is going to be a dramatic turnaround. We've seen that. We're experiencing a little bit of optimism here in the country, in the United Arab Emirates in particular. The amount of traffic that we see nowadays in the mornings is ridiculous, and in the evenings, if you walk around in the over the weekend specifically, everywhere seems to be busy. Now, what's happening is IMF, looking at the global trajectory, they say the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines, vast sums of government aid, will accelerate the global economic growth to a record high this year in a powerful rebound from the pandemic recession. Now, talking numbers, they say that they expect the world's economy to expand by 6% in 2021, up from 5.5% it had forecast in January. It would be the fastest expansion for the global economy in IMF records dating back to 1980. Now, it's all said and good in terms of what's the expectations are, and these are just projections. But what's the reality on the ground? And each other country and each other economic activity will set its own arguments for sure. But where this is all coming from is probably based on how damaging and uncertain the year before was. That many people knew what's going on. Is this the end of the world? That was a big question mark that everyone had.
Exactly.
That's right. The economists now, they're estimating that the global economy shrank 3.3% last year after the devastating recession that followed the coronavirus eruption across the world. So this is the worst annual figure in the IMF's database, though not as severe as the 3.5% drop it had estimated 3 months ago. And without $16 trillion in global government aid that helped sustain companies and customers or consumers during COVID-19 lockdowns, IMF forecasters say that last year's downturn could have been 3 times worse. Now, looking at the U.S. economy, the world's biggest economy, is now forecast to expand 6.4% this year. And this is its fastest growth since 1984. And also 3.5% in 2020, next year. And the U.S. growth is being supported by Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion relief package, while also an acceleration in the administering of vaccine is beginning to let Americans also return to restaurants, shops, and airports in larger numbers as well. Now, as for China, which is the world's second largest economy, which imposed a COVID-19 clampdown a year ago and got a head start on an economic recovery, if we may say, it will record 8.4% growth this year, and next year it will record 5.6% growth, as well as the IMF estimates.
Yeah, pretty remarkable for China. It means that its economy has not been as severely hit by the COVID-induced shock as much of the rest of the world. And according to an IMF official, they've attributed this to China's cracking down on the pandemic aggressively and early as well, allowing their economy to come back to normal levels in the middle of last year, way ahead of any other country in the world. Now, here's the thing, though. The IMF said that there's been a disparity in how different economies have fared during COVID-19. Specifically, when you look at advanced economies, they're less affected by the virus this year than low-income countries, which are greatly suffering more. So the IMF reiterated its call for wealthy nations to help poorer ones combat COVID-19. They also underlined the need to prioritize healthcare spending more broadly to defeat the pandemic. Many advanced economies still, according to the IMF report, will not return to their pre-pandemic output levels until 2022. And emerging market and developing economies may take even longer to recover to those levels, maybe up to 2023 or even 2024. So that really highlights the fact that the poorer economies need a lot of help from this time and calls for greater international cooperation.
What's interesting is that the spokesperson from IMF also highlighted that many of the jobs that were lost are unlikely to return because of trends accelerated by the pandemic, such as stepped-up automation and a shift towards e-commerce and away from brick and mortar stores. Now, it's incredible in terms of how things have been changing because we've seen how even venture capitalists, even general business ideas are now shifting towards e-commerce. A lot of it is on digital space. Rania pointed out the other day as well that all of our shoppings are now going to be done online because when you go to the stores, it's in terms of quick browsing, in terms of what is available, what's in stock. It's you want to know online beforehand. And yes, there's going to be some people who are still very, let's say, traditional, who want to try their outfits out in those stores. So that's going to be a bit of a shift. And we've seen how stores such as Debenhams have now been closing down in Europe. So the trends have been accelerated. It's just been a massive push towards a whole new world. And that's what's actually been happening.
Certainly. And the IMF also highlighted some risks as well. This really concerning scenario. If virus mutations outpace the rollout of vaccines, we could end up in a situation where COVID-19 is an endemic disease with unknown severity that's going to be around for an enormous amount of time. So, I mean, the numbers might, in fact, change depending on how things happen and what bumps we might see down the road as well. They also said that unprecedented flood of government support could produce unintended consequences and could also create some financial vulnerabilities on the rise as well.
Yep. Face masks will become a global uniform. They still remain a global uniform for the time being. Everyone's got to wear them, and I think they're going to be around for quite some time longer as well. But that's the latest from IMF. They're predicting a bit of an upward swing of 6% for the year 2021. To what extent is that going to be a reality? Only time will tell. But certainly we can sense the wave of optimism across the world as well. Stay with us on the Morning Majlis. We shall return right after the sports headlines and we'll continue the discussions. Up next, from one optimism to another reality. It's going to be the COVID-19 variants that we'll talk about. Stay with us. This is the Morning Majlis.
Pulse 95. Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate.
Yes, welcome back to the program. And Sharjah Municipality has announced that it will stop issuing permits to display food on tables in front of shops during the holy month of Ramadan. The decision is part of the municipality's keenness to provide the highest health standards and is also within the preventative and precautionary measures that it takes to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And Sheikha Shada Al-Mualla, Assistant Director General of the Public Health and Central Lab Sector of the Sharjah Municipality, said that the municipality has stopped issuing these permits for the second year in a row as a precautionary measure in food establishments during the holy month to try and keep consumers safe. She said it's one of the municipality's biggest priorities.
It remains so for sure, and they will be taking all necessary measures against the violators according to the approved penal regulation, as the municipality has also designated a team of 45 inspectors to ensure the commitment of the facilities.
That's right, and Sheikh Al-Mualla explained that the municipality, through its inspection teams of the Food Control Department, will follow up all food sites and establishments to ensure their commitment to the decision to not display any food outside the shops, as well as the commitment of establishments operating during the day in the month of Ramadan to issue permits to provide service to non-Muslim communities, and will take the necessary measures against those violators. according to the approved penal regulations. As you mentioned, Abdul Karim, as the municipality has designated a team of 45 inspectors to ensure the commitment of these facilities.
Now, the big change from Ramadan last year is the mosques were closed, so
Right.
places of worship were not there. And this year it's going to be a socially distanced Ramadan, and we'll see and allow the people to offer their Taraweeh prayers, and that's a massive thing. Yes, they're going to be shorter. They're going to be about 30 minutes so far, so including the prayer for Isha as well as Taraweeh. So yes, a lot of you who were expecting that you can go through the entire Holy Quran through the Taraweeh prayers, that's not going to be possible because of the current restrictions. Now, looking at the other guidelines that the NCMA has highlighted, group iftars are going to be restricted to members of the same family residing in the same house. Ramadan greetings can only be exchanged via smart channels only, such as your social media and phones. Voice notes do wonders, don't they? Avoid majlis gatherings during iftars. Avoid crowded shops and souks. Iftar tents are also not allowed. Copies of the Holy Quran or other gifts must not be distributed, and they say that people who are going to be out and about begging must be reported to the authorities. So lots of strict guidelines that are going to be in place this year.
That's right. And as for the iftar distribution guidelines for individuals, it is strictly forbidden to distribute door-to-door iftar meals and do not exchange food with family and neighbors, and do not send food to mosques either. As for the iftar distribution regulations for institutions, meal distribution to labor camps and communities can be done only through coordination between restaurants and the camp managers. Now, meal distribution is also allowed only in open venues with safety measures in place, and handing out meals inside or in front of restaurants is not allowed. Meals must be prepared as per the highest public health standards, and those preparing, handling food must get regular medical checks. Masks must be always worn, and meals must be distributed in single-use packages. And last but not least, social gathering or social distancing, in fact, is a must when packing, storing, and distributing of iftar meals. And that is, or those were the guidelines for the iftar distribution for institutions.
Yes, of course, and in line with the Ramadan plans, the Awqaf has dedicated a number of shows that are going to be broadcast on international media.
300 of them.
300 of them. And looking at us here in the Emirate of Sharjah TV and its radio stations will broadcast more than 130 shows in the holy month of Ramadan, and local and Gulf and regional dramas, including those from Kuwait and Syria, will be aired across our channels on Sharjah TV, Al-Wusta TV, Al-Dayth TV, Al-Sharqiyya TV from Kalba. And we'll also have dedicated programs on offer on our radio stations, Sharjah Radio, Sharjah Holy Quran Radio, and the sole English language station, yours truly, Pulse 95 Radio. So we'll have got lots to look forward to in terms of celebrating the Ramadan with us. And our shows, in fact, Morning Majlis is going to be from 8 until 10 a.m. So be mindful of that. And
we're the only majlis that's going to be permitted in Ramadan. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, it's all going to be
Lucky
virtual.
us.
Lucky us, a virtual one for sure. I'm going to be your partners in your early morning commute. So do stay with us on Pulse 95. We'll continue the discussions here on the program. We shall return right after the news headlines, so do stay tuned. Up next, we'll be talking to you about more events happening here in the Emirate of Sharjah, and how Emirates is going to be trialling the IATA's coronavirus travel passport within days. What's going on? All of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Well, Emirates Airline will begin to trial a coronavirus travel passport at Dubai International Airport within just a couple of days, as they reported recently. And according to the Chief Operations Officer, Adil Al-Rida, he said app-based travel passports or just one measure that could be used to kickstart air travel. So basically, this is a digital travel pass. It is created by IATA, International Air Transport Association, and it's a free app that basically allows users to upload pre-departure test results of coronavirus. So it will soon also allow travelers to share their vaccine records as well and tests in a verifiable and safe manner as well. And now we know that, of course, the travel industry hopes it will give governments the confidence to open borders and also ensure airports and customs officers can recognize various vaccines and test results from across the globe.
Yeah, and the chief operations officer at Emirates Airlines, Adil Al-Ridha, said we're expecting to start trialing within the next few days. We've done all the background and we've done all the IP links between us and IATA. We will be trying it and we'll have passengers on actual flights going through this process to make sure that if there are any technical glitches in the systems, we can overcome them.
Yeah, there's going to be a contactless check-in and passport control to reduce the contact between passengers and staff. Passengers just have to register the biometric details and they'll move through the airport identity checks and complete it through a combination of iris and facial recognition technology. And we saw that being rolled out a couple of months ago here at the airports in the country, and that they believe that travel passport is going to be the best option for countries, airlines and passengers. I think it's very important that we have IATA involved in it because it was going to be a bit of a tricky ask to get the vaccines registered and on track. For example, let's say, what if the Sputnik 5 vaccine was not recognized wherever you want to go, or what if the Sinopharm is not? And with IATA involved and accrediting your vaccination, it should
It's
be
like your pass.
It's your pass, and it's an international organization,
Yeah.
so I'm guessing it should be okay. And we're keeping our fingers crossed that the whole world tends to agree with it, so that we can resume our dreams of traveling to our favorite destinations.
Definitely. The IATA passport is the means to transmit and also have available on the system all the information related to the vaccination, so passengers don't have to carry with them any documents. Plus, it's also the most secure way of having the vaccination details available in the airline reservation systems. So it is definitely a pass-through.
It will be, and we'll definitely look forward to the more the world reopens and how we see the world of travel resuming. And let's hope that we do get involved and see the world for its true essence. And eventually, as soon as this gets rolled out, to be honest, I can expect to see the ticket prices skyrocketing, as so many people are eager to get out and explore, especially during the summer months. As soon as they kick in here, there's going to be a lot of people willing to travel. Stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we shall continue the discussions here on the program. It's going to be about the safari park that's coming up in the Emirate of Sharjah. All of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
Pulse 95.
Between local lines. Notes from the Emirate.
Yes, notes from Sharjah. The Research and Studies Department of the Sharjah Electricity, Water and Gas Authority has carried out a pilot project to implement a system of smart water meters that are read accurately remotely. So this project is in the interest of both the consumers and SIWA in identifying any unjustified increases in consumption, so that SIWA can search for its causes and repairs it and preserves water, which is considered a very precious wealth from waste.
And also reduce the percentage of human errors in meter reading. So really great to see this being automated.
Yeah, look, it's going to be such a great news and a welcome new initiative, because especially in areas where I reside, in El Hira, for example, that's sometimes the villas, the electric consumptions do go ridiculously high without you even knowing it, and then you sort of have to go back to SIWA and say, hey, can we check this out and re-verify your bills. And yes, so these smart meters are going to avoid the re-verification where the inspector has to come in and recheck and goes back, and then you sort of negotiate whatever adjustment that needs to be done to the bill. These smart meters are going to be welcome news for sure, and they've indicated that the authority relies on specialized and careful studies when implementing any new system to ensure the benefit of both the authority and the subscribers. They added that the SIWA team supervised the implementation of the pilot project by changing the traditional time-consuming meter reading method to a fast and high-quality reading one by incorporating NB-IoT technology for 100 meters in the university city and 2,500 in the May Saloon area. It comes at a very handy time. It comes at a time when summer is fast approaching. People will be leaving the air conditioning on high. People's gardens will need a lot more water. So it comes at an ideal time when there are going to be more disputes, or even a high consumption is going to be recorded. So let's see what happens, really. But we'll keep you posted, certainly, in terms of new developments here in the Emirate of Sharjah. For the time being, we'll take a bit of a breather. We'll let you enjoy some musical entertainment that the station has to offer. And then we shall be back again. And we'll be talking about what an extraordinary performance to look forward to from Saudi Arabia is Andrea Bocelli. We'll tell you all about this. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Welcome back onto the program. It's all about musical performances. It's all about reviving tourism. Andrea Bocelli is no stranger to Saudi Arabia. He's performed twice at the Tantora Festival in Saudi Arabia, but he's returning this time at the ancient city of Hijra, also formerly known as Madain Saleh, and it is tomorrow. This is going to be exciting.
Yes, and this will actually mark the first time the UNESCO World Heritage Site will be used as the setting for a musical event. So joining Bocelli on stage for the stripped-back performance will be musicians from the Arabian and special guests Lauren Allred, Matteo Bocelli, soprano Francesca Mianci, and Eugene Cohn at the piano as well. And there will also be a special mystery guest who will be revealed on the night itself tomorrow. But while the set list has not been announced, fans will likely be able to hear some of Bocelli's classics, including The Prayer, Ave Maria, and Time to Say Goodbye.
Yeah, I'd love to listen to Time to Say Goodbye.
Me too.
Live in Saudi Arabia.
Time to say goodbye.
That's right. And the singer is going to be the first artist to stage a concert within the city walls of Hegra as well. An ancient city built in the 1st century BCE by the Nabatean kingdom. An ancient desert city that is home to thousands of tombs that are cut into sandstone mountains. At least 100 tombs have elaborate carved facades showing off the skills of the Nabatean craftsmen. The specific backdrop of this event will be the 20 carved tombs of Al-Khuraymat, which archaeologists say represent some of the best preserved in this ancient city. Tickets go on sale on Thursday and will be limited, as the show will have less than 300 spectators to protect the environment, as well as for COVID-19 safety reasons.
Yeah, so much to look forward to, isn't it? And now we've seen that wonderful performances taking place here in the Emirate of Sharjah as well. And this is going to be an incredible performance that everyone's got to see. And we're really, really looking forward to it indeed. So do stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll keep you posted about all the big events and big concerts that are going to be taking place across the globe that you should be catching and to be aware of. For the time being, the Morning Majlis will now stretch and head off. We shall be back again tomorrow morning, bright and early, continuing the discussions and keeping you all posted throughout the morning. For the time being, if you'd like to catch most of our discussions and conversations, where can they catch that?
Listen to highlights of our show on our podcasts on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcast. Just type in Morning Majlis in the search bar. We also upload daily highlights on our YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well and catch our live feeds of Pulse 95 programming. Thank you all for tuning in to today's show. Hope to see you tomorrow again at 7 a.m. Until then, stay tuned to Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse